Imagine an existence brimming with inexhaustible possibilities, yet entangled in invisible bonds, in a state of inner turmoil that seems insurmountable. What if recognizing this struggle could fundamentally transform your perception of yourself and your place in the world? Today, we embark on a fascinating journey through the labyrinths of Carl Gustav Jung's psychological discoveries to explore the concept of Puer Aeternus, or eternal child, and its modern impact on personal development and the unlocking of potential. Stay with us until the end of this exploration, where the most striking discovery about this archetype awaits you, a revelation capable of opening a secret door to your own awakening. Puer Aeternus, a term rooted in Latin, denotes eternal youth or the childlike soul living within many of us. At first glance, it embodies creativity, inexhaustible energy, and an unquenchable thirst for realizing dreams. However, behind this mask lies a shadow, a deep and often painful confrontation with responsibility, maturity, and the harsh realities of life. Carl Jung, in his writings, used the concept of eternal child to describe a psychological model characteristic of those who stubbornly cling to an idealized image of youth, avoiding the acceptance of realities and responsibilities of adult life. But how does this manifest in the modern world? One need only look at the vast number of people, both young and mature, who seem stuck in a state of perpetual youth. They are engrossed in dreams of potential opportunities, but paralyzed by fear of the present. Perhaps everyone is familiar with this internal contradiction, a desire for freedom and new experiences, restrained by fears of obligations and the burden of responsibility. The eternal child is not merely a manifestation of youthful enthusiasm, but a deeply rooted psychological archetype that manifests in both overt and covert forms. It may manifest in a reluctance to start a family, in avoidance of serious work that requires full commitment, or in a relentless pursuit of new sensations and intense experiences at the expense of stability and constancy. This archetype is both alluring and dangerous, offering the illusion of limitless prospects while subtly undermining personal growth and development. In the writings of Carl Jung, the Puer Aeternus archetype appears as a reflection of a serious discord within the depths of the human psyche. Although this archetype is a carrier of creative beginnings and rich imagination, it also symbolizes an escape from often difficult reality. In the Jungian approach to psychology, the key task is not to suppress this archetype, but to integrate it, to channel its inexhaustible energy into a constructive direction capable of yielding tangible results. Surely everyone is familiar with the state when a person finds themselves trapped between dreams of an ideal future and a feeling of helplessness in implementing the necessary steps to achieve this goal. It is this internal contradiction that is characteristic of the eternal child. It tempts with promises of perfection and boundless freedom, but often leaves behind a feeling of emptiness, alienation, and dissatisfaction. Jung warned against living under the influence of the shadow of Puer Aeternus, which can lead to a constant feeling of dissatisfaction. He viewed this behavior pattern as a product of modern society, where the pressures of adult life conflict with a culture that celebrates youth, spontaneity, and individuality. In his works, Jung emphasized the importance of confronting this inner child, not to destroy it, but to transform it into a source of wisdom and resilience. How, then, to tame this internal rebel, eternally young in spirit? How to find harmony between the thirst for independence and the burden of responsibility? We will attempt to find answers to these vital questions today. First of all, it is necessary to realize that the Puer Aeternus archetype itself does not carry a negative charge. It is an inexhaustible source of inspiration, a generator of innovative ideas and creative impulses. The problem arises when this powerful energy breaks free from control, pushing a person onto a path of fleeting passions and unattainable dreams. Carl Jung believed that the key to personal growth is recognizing this inner child, but at the same time, it is necessary to not allow it to dictate our actions. This thorny path requires deep self-analysis and considerable courage. It is necessary to face our fears, fear of failure, rejection, loss. It is these fears that often keep us in the comfortable cocoon of eternal childhood. Overcoming oneself means being willing to accept the discomfort associated with growth and boldly step into the unknown, even when our entire being resists it and longs to return to the familiar and safe. In the following sections, we will delve into the practical methods proposed by Jung to integrate the Puer Aeternus archetype into a balanced and fulfilling life. We will uncover the profound truths underlying this archetype, truths capable of leading us not only to personal self-realization, but also to a deeper understanding of our shared human nature. It is suggested to contemplate how often an individual encounters an internal conflict between cherished dreams inherent in a childlike worldview and the necessity of fulfilling responsibilities befitting adult life. Such reflections can lead to a reevaluation of one's life path and self-identification. The Puer Aeternus archetype, or eternal youth, is closely linked to the duality of human nature, striving for absolute freedom on one hand and requiring clear organization and meaningful existence on the other. According to Jung's theory, this archetype is activated during pivotal moments in life, especially during periods of transformation. Whether it's adolescence, midlife crisis, or even mature years, the eternal youth awakens, causing a person to question their chosen life path and established order. The question arises, why does this archetype possess such a powerful impact? To find the answer, we must turn to its origins. Jung believed that the Puer Aeternus is rooted in the collective unconscious, a repository of archetypes and symbols that shape the universal human experience. The eternal youth is a reflection of the universal desire for innocence, childlike wonder, and boundless possibilities inherent in youth. It reminds us of a time when the burden of responsibility and life's difficulties did not weigh down our daily lives, a time when the world seemed full of bright prospects and inexhaustible opportunities. However, this longing for eternal youth harbors a hidden danger. Recall the tragic story of Icarus, whose wings of wax and feathers, symbolizing youthful maximalism and boundless hopes, could not withstand the proximity to the sun. Disregarding the advice of his father, Daedalus, led Icarus to his inevitable demise. Like Icarus, people entirely consumed by the world of the Puer Aeternus risk drowning in their own fantasies and facing harsh disappointment upon encountering reality. This myth serves as a warning about the danger of excessive identification with the eternal child archetype. The allure of freedom and escape from responsibility is great, but it comes at a price. Relationships, professional growth, and personal development suffer when a person refuses to accept the challenges of adult life. The eternal child archetype can inspire great dreams, but without real action, they are like seeds cast on barren soil. Jung proposed a way out of this impasse, a way to harness the energy of the Puer Aeternus without losing its valuable gifts. He called this path individuation, the process of becoming a whole and mature personality. Individuation requires the courage to face one's inner child, to accept their creative potential and ability to wonder, while also recognizing their dark sides. It means facing the fear of failure and imperfection, accepting life in its entirety with courage and dignity. The path of individuation is not easy. It requires deep self-reflection, a willingness to explore beliefs and behaviors that keep a person trapped in eternal youth. Jung considered this inner work the key to personal growth, allowing one to channel the energy of the eternal child into a constructive direction. By integrating this archetype, a person gains the ability to use its power for inspiration, creativity, and enrichment of their life. So, what does this integration process look like in real life? It all begins with deep self-analysis, with a close look inside oneself. Jung urged us not to be afraid of difficult questions that require honest answers. What are we running from? Stubbornly clinging to the image of the eternal child? What deep-seated fears and doubts fuel our reluctance to grow up and take responsibility? These questions are not a reason for self-flagellation or criticism, but rather a tool to shed light on those corners of our psyche that we carefully hide even from ourselves. The next step is to show courage in action. This implies concrete, albeit small, steps aimed at taking responsibility for one's life. This could be, for example, the long-awaited realization of a cherished dream that requires discipline and concentration, or the building of sincere and deep relationships based on mutual respect and trust. Perhaps it is simply the ability to be consistent and honest in one's actions and words. Each such step, no matter how insignificant it may seem, brings us closer to harmony and a fulfilling life. Jung also emphasized the enormous role of relationships in the healing process. Puer Aeternus often experiences difficulties in establishing close and trusting relationships, fearing the vulnerability that inevitably arises when allowing others to see their true selves. However, it is through relationships that we gain valuable experiences, learn to love and accept love, and find meaning in life beyond our own I. By accepting the challenge of building healthy relationships, we have the chance to heal the wounds of the eternal child and discover the joy of mutual growth and development. Reflecting on the concepts touched upon, it is necessary to take a close look at the influence of culture and society on the formation of the eternal child phenomenon. Modern culture, with its emphasis on youth and external attractiveness, as well as an insatiable thirst for instant gratification, often pushes individuals to maintain an infantile state. A person finds themselves under a continuous barrage of messages that fuel the Puer Aeternus archetype, the eternal youth. Social networks, in particular, play a significant role in maintaining this illusory picture, offering users a carefully edited version of reality. Often, observing the lives of others online leads to feelings of inferiority and dissatisfaction. However, within these difficulties lies the potential for growth. By recognizing the influence of external forces, one can regain control over their own life and begin to make conscious choices. It is possible to embrace the wisdom inherent in the eternal child while avoiding falling into the trap of its darker aspects. One can cherish their dreams while dedicating themselves to the painstaking work of realizing them. In continuation of this exploration, we will examine tools and strategies that can help navigate this delicate balance, ranging from mindfulness and self-awareness practices to insights gleaned from Jungian psychology. These methods can contribute to achieving a more integrated and authentic existence. In the final part of this analysis, we will reveal the main lesson taught by the Puer Aeternus archetype, a truth capable of transforming not only personal life, but also the general understanding of human nature. Instead of simply analyzing, let's delve into each of our personal experiences. Where exactly in your life does this eternal child manifest? How has it influenced your decisions, interactions with others, and perception of yourself? These questions are the first steps towards deep self-knowledge and personal growth, a path promising radical changes. Now that we have recognized the presence of the Puer Aeternus archetype and the ways in which it manifests in our lives, let's move on to the process of integration. Integrating this archetype does not mean getting rid of it, but rather transforming it into a source of energy, inspiration, and purpose. This transformation lies at the heart of the Jungian concept of individuation, the path to wholeness, where every aspect of the psyche is recognized, accepted, and harmoniously combined. But where to begin this journey? First of all, it is necessary to face the shadow of the Puer Aeternus. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is those hidden corners of our personality that we often ignore or suppress. These are our fears, doubts, and unresolved internal conflicts that prevent us from leaving the state of eternal youth. For the eternal child, the shadow often manifests as resistance. Resistance to responsibility, limitations, and the very vulnerability that is necessary for growing up. To confront the shadow side of the personality, it is necessary to cultivate extreme self-honesty. This involves a bold and compassionate look inside oneself, recognizing those aspects that are usually ignored. This process is certainly complex, but absolutely necessary. As Carl Jung keenly observed, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. By bringing the shadow into the light of awareness, one takes the first confident step towards regaining control over their own life. One effective way to explore the shadow is to keep a journal. Regular entries about patterns in life, innermost dreams, avoided obligations, and difficult relationships can become a valuable source of information. It is important to ask oneself questions. What am I afraid of losing? And what am I afraid of facing? These questions are like keys that open doors to a deeper understanding of oneself. Another powerful tool is the practice of mindfulness. By developing mindfulness, one learns to observe their thoughts and emotions without judgment. This practice helps to recognize moments when the inner child influences decisions, giving the opportunity to pause and choose a more conscious response. For example, when the desire arises to abandon a project due to apparent complexity or monotony, mindfulness allows one to experience the discomfort and explore its causes instead of impulsively giving up. In the process of confronting the darker aspects of one's personality, it's essential to carefully cultivate the positive aspects of the Puer Aeternus, the archetype of the eternal child. This image shouldn't be associated solely with childishness, as it represents an inexhaustible source of imagination, an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, and the ability to be amazed. By acknowledging and embracing these qualities, a person can fill their existence with creative inspiration and a sense of life's fullness. The main task is to channel this energy into a constructive direction, into projects, interpersonal relationships, and the achievement of goals that align with deep-seated values and aspirations. Consider the life of an artist as an example. The eternal child archetype can be a powerful stimulus for their creativity, supporting an enduring passion for experimentation and self-expression. However, without proper organization and self-discipline, this energy can dissipate, leading to feelings of disappointment and creative stagnation. By finding a balance between the freedom inherent in a child and the purposefulness of an adult, the artist gains the opportunity to turn their dreams into reality, creating works that are both meaningful and lasting. This principle of balance applies not only to creative endeavors. In everyday life, everyone can use the energy of the eternal child to approach problem-solving with curiosity and an open mind. Instead of perceiving difficulties as a heavy burden, they should be seen as potential for personal growth and new discoveries. Such a change of perspective allows for a more conscious experience of each moment, transforming even the most routine tasks into a source of joy and meaning. On this path of self-discovery and development, it's crucial to surround yourself with a supportive environment. Carl Jung emphasized the significance of relationships in the process of individuation. Friends, mentors, and loved ones can serve as mirrors, reflecting the strengths and weaknesses of the personality, helping one to see themselves more objectively. Furthermore, they can provide the necessary support and ensure a sense of responsibility when difficulties arise on the path of personal growth. However, relationships are not immune to complexities, especially for those who are influenced by the Puer Aeternus archetype. The eternal child often faces problems establishing close connections, experiencing fear of vulnerability, and the obligations that deep relationships entail. To overcome this barrier, one must learn to perceive vulnerability not as a weakness, but as a source of strength. It's through the manifestation of vulnerability that sincere connections are formed, allowing others to see us as we truly are and providing support on life's journey. This leads to an important realization. The integration of the Puer Aeternus archetype is not a solitary task, but a process that unfolds within the context of society and interconnectedness. By sharing their difficulties and discoveries with others, a person not only deepens their own understanding, but also inspires others to personal growth. It's worth pausing and considering the broader implications of this work. The struggle with the eternal child is not just an individual problem, but also a reflection of cultural and social trends. In a world where instant gratification is often preferred over long-term self-realization, society faces the need to find a balance between youthful dreams and the wisdom of maturity. By working on oneself at an individual level, everyone contributes to larger changes towards a more harmonious and integrated society. As we approach the conclusion of our discussion, it's worth considering the practical application of the Puer Aeternus concept in everyday life. What aspirations are you willing to pursue with unwavering attention and self-discipline? What obligations are you willing to take on, displaying resilience and dignity? These questions lead not just to personal growth, but to self-realization, the process of unlocking potential and becoming the person you are meant to be. In the final part of our exploration, we will examine the key lesson that the eternal child archetype teaches us. This realization can fundamentally change not only your understanding of this phenomenon, but also your overall approach to life. Our conversation will culminate, offering a perspective that, like a lighthouse, will illuminate the path ahead, filling it with meaning and clarity. As we draw closer to the finale, it's time to reveal the main secret of the Puer Aeternus. It's not just about the theoretical understanding of the eternal child, but about transforming our relationship with this archetype. By changing our perception, we gain the ability to change ourselves. The Puer Aeternus, or eternal youth, presents a profound dilemma of human existence. On one hand, it embodies the inexhaustible source of possibilities inherent in youth. On the other, it demonstrates the shackles that arise from avoiding personal growth and accepting maturity. The challenge of integrating this archetype lies in the ability to live in harmony with inner contradictions, respecting the bright dreams of the eternal child while embracing the mature wisdom of an adult. Carl Jung, the eminent Swiss psychologist and philosopher, saw the solution to this paradox in the concept of uniting opposites. This cornerstone of his teaching emphasizes the need to reconcile conflicting elements of the psyche to achieve personal wholeness. In the context of the eternal youth, this means finding a balance between the boundless freedom characteristic of youth and the responsibility inherent in maturity, between the spontaneity of a child and the self-discipline of an adult. But how can we achieve this harmonious balance in real life? First and foremost, it requires a reevaluation of values. Instead of perceiving responsibility as a heavy burden, we should see it as a new horizon and opportunity to create a life filled with profound meaning and high purpose. Responsibility should not stifle our dreams. On the contrary, it can give them a clear structure and direction. By dedicating ourselves to meticulous self-improvement, we lay a solid foundation for a life that is both fulfilling and free. A vivid illustration of this is the image of the alchemist. In ancient traditions, alchemy was not merely the art of transmuting ordinary metals into gold. It was a profound metaphor for personal transformation. The alchemist's work required immense patience, strict discipline, and complete dedication, but the result was something truly remarkable, a substance possessing invaluable qualities. Integrating the Puer Aeternus archetype is a task that requires significant effort and unwavering persistence, yet it opens the way to extraordinary richness and depth of human existence. The essence of this transformation lies not in suppressing the inner, eternal child, but in skillfully managing its energy. The unbridled energy and creative potential inherent in this archetype are truly invaluable. But to achieve harmony, they must be channeled into activities that resonate with our fundamental life goals. This process requires, first and foremost, a clear awareness of one's purpose, a clear understanding of what we aspire to and why it is of paramount importance to us. Equally important is resilience, the ability to remain true to our principles and intentions, despite the inevitable difficulties and setbacks that stand in our way. Carl Jung, the eminent Swiss psychologist and psychiatrist, repeatedly emphasized the importance of finding one's true self, the authentic foundation of our personality. In this challenging journey, the eternal child can become a valuable ally, reminding us of cherished dreams and innermost aspirations. However, it is the mature adult part of our personality that possesses sufficient strength and will to turn these dreams into reality. In harmonious interaction, these two aspects of the psyche create a dynamic balance, mutually complementing and reinforcing each other. One of the deepest lessons that the Puer Aeternus archetype teaches us is the realization that freedom and responsibility are not mutually exclusive concepts, but two inextricably linked sides of the same coin. True freedom lies not in evading responsibility, but in the ability to consciously choose one's life path, guided by intention and principles of integrity. It is the freedom to pursue one's passions while remaining mindful of one's commitments, the freedom to dream while supporting those dreams with concrete actions. The realization of this truth challenges modern views that glorify independence and selfish aspirations, ignoring the importance of interconnectedness and accountability. It serves as a reminder that the true greatness of life lies not in the endless pursuit of escape, but in active participation in one's own goals, strengthening relationships, and profound self-discovery. As we assimilate this understanding, the eternal child ceases to be perceived as a defect, but rather as a valuable gift. Its inexhaustible energy encourages us to new discoveries, creativity, and bold dreams. Its presence reminds us of the splendor and wonders of life, which do not fade even in the face of trials. By embracing this archetype, we regain the lost ability to rejoice and play, qualities essential for a harmonious and fulfilling life. However, this path of self-discovery is not limited to personal growth. The integration of the Puer Aeternus archetype has a profound impact on the world around us. When we embrace our inner child and simultaneously cultivate our adult personality, we become more mature and ready to make a positive contribution to society. Serving as a role model for others, a person demonstrates that it is possible to respect one's aspirations while not shirking one's responsibilities. Therefore, self-improvement bears fruit, having a beneficial impact that extends far beyond personal life. By embodying the traits of the eternal child, a person not only changes themselves, but also contributes to shaping a world where both creativity and a sense of duty, freedom, and interconnectedness are valued. In conclusion, it is worth inviting the reader to reflect on the journey. The narrative began with an examination of the appealing aspects of the eternal child, delving into the origins and manifestations of this phenomenon. Then, the process of integration was explored, revealing ways to harmoniously combine the virtues of the eternal child with the prudence of a mature personality. And now, the main lesson of this archetype becomes evident. A lesson capable of transforming not only personal life, but also the understanding of what it means to live meaningfully and sincerely. Therefore, at the end of the narrative, the question remains: how to act on the knowledge gained? How does one intend to honor the eternal child within themselves while entering adulthood? Questions that seem complex are, in fact, of great importance to every individual. The search for answers to these questions becomes a determining factor in life's journey, guiding towards harmony, self-realization, and mindfulness. The author expresses gratitude to all who decided to join this important exploration. If the topics touched upon resonated with you, the author encourages you to share your thoughts and ideas, to continue the dialogue and support each other on the path of personal growth and positive change. The author thanks you for your